Hello everyone, it is Never a Foul. It's NAF Extra Time Debate, Saturday evening after big games today. Of course, the big headline was that Arsenal lost points and the momentum is not there, but also Spurs. How can you go from beating Man City like the champions to losing like this, being humiliated by Leicester, who can't get a win, 2 wins in a row, and Spurs were absolutely abysmal today. Chelsea, they still can't get it right. I'm here with some of the great guys in the background, Gunnar Souls, Danny, Sam, and Double A to talk about tomorrow as well. Man City, title chase, and Manchester United. Maybe they win tomorrow and they're again in a title race for another 48 hours or something. But everybody here, thank you so much for being here with me. You know, we got 70 people watching. And you know what it is? I need the likes to go up, please, for me. Hit that like button for me, please, if you just joined the chat. And subscribe if you're new to the channel, of course. But first, let me big up the people in the chat here with me. Big up to our subscribers, our members, of course. Check out the membership to get in the description for the call-in show. Of course, you get priority in the call-in shows and then also priority in the giveaways from the NAF family. So big up everybody in the chat with me. Let me see who's in there. Georgie for LCFC is saying can't wait to smash Arsenal in a couple of weeks. That's a Leicester City, of course. Wolves. If I is here with us, he say Georgie is starting to slip away from Arsenal. Yusuf is saying 1 game at a time. Daniel, Man City fan, of course, is saying big up to everybody in the chat. Marcus is here with us. Spurs got first up. KV Cave is here with us as well. Sophia, sub to City Extra Time. A lot of people in the chat. Abdi, Wayne is here. Sid, big up Sid. Thank you for joining, Sophia. Thank you for being here with us, Sophia. But without further ado, let me get the guys in so we can start talking and see what is going on and see what these guys are about. So I'm just going to get them in. You know what I mean? Like, just, they're just here with me. Danny, Souls, Sam, Double A, welcome. Welcome everybody to the show. One thing I want to ask you guys. Arsenal, Souls, simple question. Welcome to the show first. Is the momentum gone? What happened?
Life happened, innit? Life happened. And you know what? We're on a bit of a patchy form, should we say. You know, the results on the last sort of few games haven't gone our way, from obviously the Man City game to what happened at Everton to what happened today. And the thing is, you know what? Like, if we look at all these sort of title-winning teams in the past, you know, they tend to have these results. The only unfortunate thing with us is we've got them in a row, as in we've got the loss and the draw consecutively rather than, you know, going on a run and bouncing back after the defeat. But the record still stands for it and shows for itself. You know, it's the second defeat, and I think the 3rd or 4th draw of the season. It's not something to panic about. I understand people are going to say this is where, you know, the wheels stop turning, but there's a huge game tomorrow, and the pressure's over to Man City. We've dropped points before, and Man City haven't capitalized, so it's over to them. And look, we know Man City can do it, but we're talking about this season. We're not talking about the Man City of the past. You know, not only now have they got the pressure of, you know, we drop points, but they've got the pressure of all that's going around them in terms of the allegations and stuff. Are they in the right space of mind? So you know what, for me, I'm holding off. It's 1 game at a time. Let's see how it goes. There's a huge game on Wednesday. Before panic needs to set in, we're still 6 points clear as it stands with a game in hand. And you know what? They're playing Unai Emery, man. I'm not worried at the moment. The title's still ours. You know, we can still win it. I'm not worried at all.
Sam, being a Man City fan, welcome to the show. First time we meet, my friend. I'm good. Listen, do you think this are Arsenal top because you haven't been playing great? Are these chances being slipping away from Man City? The Spurs game, I think before the Brentford game, before the World Cup. Are Arsenal that good, or or they are just on top because you're not playing your best football?
I think up to a couple of weeks ago, I think Arsenal were that good. I think they were on track for about 102 points. That was their sort of rate going to the halfway point. So, at that stage, we dropped a few games, like you say, Brentford and Villa away, Newcastle away. But most of those games you would not expect to drop points in, but they will happen over the course of the season. So, I kind of felt going into the World Cup break and even going into the United game a few weeks ago that we weren't doing too badly. Maybe not playing our usual level, but I think ourselves may be on course for sort of 85, 90 points before we maybe go on a second half of the season run. So I think actually Arsenal have been that good for the last couple of weeks. But the key game, I think, was definitely last week for me against Spurs, because Arsenal dropped points the day before. We'd had a 9-day break, I think, between games. We played Arsenal on the Friday night in the FA Cup, and then 9 days. You would have thought Pep would have had him in on the training ground, maybe ironed out a few things, and sort of really come into that Spurs game all gun blazing. And we were complete opposite. It was one of our worst performances of the season. And now we actually need a reaction tomorrow, because Arsenal, they maybe had a bit of a blip. Yes, they've dropped points in a couple of games where you'd expect them to win. But without sort of sounding too manager-like cliche, it doesn't really matter what Arsenal do. If we're still going to be inconsistent and drop points, then Arsenal being inconsistent, dropping points is an irrelevance. We've got to start putting a run and number of wins together. Starting at Villa at home tomorrow, and our home form overall has been pretty good. And then we've got the massive game in midweek, and it's all about performances as well as results now, because we've played okay in a lot of games this season, and we still managed to win a lot of games because of the quality we've got in attack. But yeah, performances in some games been slow, lethargic. Sometimes not playing towards Haaland's strengths, sometimes only playing towards Haaland. So it's been a tough season in terms of finding that balance. So I'm still yet to see that we can actually do that yet. So let's hope for a change starting tomorrow.
Double A, welcome, my friend. Long time no see. How are you doing? I hope everything is well with you. Where are you in this talk? Are you fighting with City for the second, or you are content with the top four? Of course, you play tomorrow, but also you played in the same games because you just drew Leeds at home. Where are you in this situation? Are you chasing Arsenal, or are you chasing City, or you're worried about the people behind you? Spurs, we're going to come to Dan, of course, because I know he has a rant in him about today. But where are you in this conversation?
First off, yeah, it's good to be back. Big up to the panel and the chat, obviously. Also, Mo, I didn't appreciate the little slide dig at United there. There's no need for that, the 48-hour thing. We done nothing to you. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for that. Listen, I'm nowhere near being an outsider. I'm not in the title race. It's Man City and Arsenal. They're the two that are vying for the title for me. I think Manchester United have got an uphill battle, not using excuses. We've got far too many games and not enough players, or not enough players of quality to see us through to win everything that's on the table. I don't want to be an Arsenal fan of old and just want to get top four, but that's what United have to do pretty much, I think. And we have to look like it's a good thing that Spurs lost today. That takes a little pressure off us, especially tomorrow. I think tomorrow's going to be a really, really tough game.
Does that not add pressure to you? Because that's how I look at it.
I think if Newcastle won today, that adds pressure. I think the pressure was on it regardless. I think it takes off a little bit of pressure because there's a little bit of a leeway there now. I think if Spurs had drew or won and Newcastle had won, the pressure would have been added even more, 100%. But the pressure's there anyway. It's a local derby. They're going to be up for it, especially Boyd after what happened on Wednesday at Old Trafford. It's a tricky game anyway. And I just think, a lot like you and City fans are all thinking, we just have to take it a game at a time and see where we are at the end of the 90 minutes, really. It's exciting to be in this position that we're fighting on fighting on four fronts, but we are. But it's worrying because, as we've seen, and the jokes are flying around, once Casemiro's out of that midfield, we're back to McFred, and worrying kind of thing. But I'm just enjoying the ride at the moment. It's nice to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So that's where I kind of sit in the tunnel, but I can see a little bit of light there.
Okay, Danny, welcome, my friend. I'm sorry about today. That's number one. I think Spurs are the worst of the top 6, Danny. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You
obviously,
guys are
yeah.
absolutely awful. I
We're
think
dog shit.
that win against Man City covered a lot of shit underneath the surface, to be honest.
Look, for me, I think there's certain problems in the club that are pretty much very obvious. I'm not going to go into the ownership because I think everybody knows what I feel about the ownership, and I would sound like a broken record. But just to tell you that Eric Dyer has been at this football club for 9 years tells you everything you need to know. Man defends like he's on social distancing, like he's COVID-19 social guidelines. He's like 5 meters away from the guy, and the guy's going at him, and he does this constantly. We've got 3 at the back, but somehow it always ends with a 1v1 between Eric Dyer and some other bloke. Every single time. And every time he does the same thing. Man United last season. Eric Dyer. He gave him like acres. People wondering, oh, how he scored that. Any guy's giving you that much space. Like, come on, it's obvious that this guy doesn't know how to defend. This guy got moved from field to step back.
What is going on? Is that happening only for me? It's like the guys are out. Souls, Danny, you guys keep going in and out. I don't know what is happening, people, but it looks like the internet connection somehow is in and out from that place. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to get the guys back in, to be honest, because it looks like it's something is going on from the connection. I don't know if you guys can still hear me or something, but it looks like something is wrong with the internet. But anyway, I'm gonna keep the conversation going with the guys. I don't know what happened, to be honest with you guys. Something is Dan's mic was acting up, and then the room just went into. He keeps going in and out somehow, somewhere. I think so. It's just somehow the internet just dropped somehow for a reason. I don't know what it is. Hold on, we're George, man, again. We'll see tomorrow about George, but I don't know what is going on, to be honest, with the room. Gunnar Soldier, I'm not sure if you still can hear me, but guys, we can only hear you. For some reason, I don't know, the internet went out somehow. I don't know what happened. I can actually just get the people again if... I don't know what happened, to be honest. Let me just... I'm gonna try to make this again for them. I'm just gonna refresh their cameras or their internet or something. Sorry guys for everything. I don't know. Yes, you guys are here.
Well,
I don't know. Are you guys okay? Can you guys hear me well?
must be
Danny,
something
you can
with
hear you
Mo's
well.
connection.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's most because I think he got
Yeah,
kicked
it's
off.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you
go
hear me
ahead.
okay, Danny?
Yes. Everybody's back now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we can
something
hear you.
happened. I don't know what happened. Just YouTube somehow just drops people in a way. Go ahead, Danny. You were saying. Sorry.
Oh man, that's what I have to say on Eric Dyer. To me, today Pedro Porro's debut, it wasn't the best. I don't think that was the best Pedro Porro, especially in the first few minutes. He was very sloppy. He started to grow into the game as the game progressed, but even he knew that it wasn't his best because he went out on Twitter and said that's a very poor debut for me. Keep my head up, and I'm gonna continue to improve. Which fair play to him. He's the only one that has the balls in the starting 11 to come out and say that. But we've got players in this team who are just clueless. They're absolutely clueless. Like, bro, and the thing is, I'm going to go into Eric Dyer because this guy is the one that's defending them mainly. But then the other two are standing there like statues. And Kulusevski and Son were both useless today as well. Our front three is supposed to be the main, like, the best part about our starting 11. And they were the least functional. Absolutely dreadful performance from almost every single player in the starting 11. And the other thing is, I wanted to get into it. A lot of people called me out because I don't like how Hugo Lloris has been playing, and I think we should get him out, and I think we should definitely improve on him. This community is the only place where you can say something and people think the absolute opposite. Just because I don't like Hugo Lloris doesn't mean that I think Fraser Forster is better. I think he's even worse. What we need to do is get a better goalkeeper like Emiliano Martinez, like Saw, like in my opinion, Pickford could be an option. There's many out there like David Raya, the goalkeeper from Brentford. So, like, honestly, we need a new goalkeeper replacement because we saw there, like, Perisic and Fraser Fraudster, as I call him, should both be going to the same retirement home because they're both like aged, man. I don't know why they're in the squad. Why are they in the squad? They're both, man. The squad is a disgrace. And as you were saying, Mo, we're the worst team in the top 6 without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm just getting frustrated at this. I'm at the point where I don't even feel the pain anymore. I was feeling pain like a few match weeks ago, but I'm at the point where there's no pain.
Yeah, guys, make sure to hit that like. But I want to go now in depth to the Arsenal game and ask Souls a couple of questions about why I saw today a little bit of a very slow in the first half, very slow. The defense was very shaky, to be honest. The midfield did not protect your defenders at all. It was wide open, 2-on-2. Buemo and Ivan Toney going 2-on-2 many times. And your midfield is not focused at all. Xhaka is not helping Thomas Partey at all. Odegaard is not helping them at all. It was really a free run in that midfield for Brentford. Yes, Thomas Frank has set his team really well. However, Mikel Arteta, I think, is trying to overcomplicate things. Too many passes, not direct. And I don't know, is this sustainable though, this overcomplicating football? The chances are not coming like early in the season. Now 3 games, and I'm going to count the Man City game, because even after you're starting, like your superstars came on the pitch, you still didn't create enough chances to tie this game, to get the equalizer. And that's my problem with Arsenal, is that in the last 3 games, if the momentum is gone, how should he bring it back?
I mean, it's difficult to answer with like one simple solution, but obviously we're missing Gabriel Jesus and what he offered at the beginning of the season in terms of dropping in, going into the channels, interlinking with the likes of Martinelli and Bukayo Saka. One of the things that he did, and which is something which he's got the intelligence to do, is you'll see Martinelli kind of making central runs, and you'll see that the gap that Martinelli left on that left-hand side, he'd go and fill it in. Or if Bukayo Saka was making central runs or cutting inside, he'd go and fill in the right-hand side, like the right wide flanks. Where Eddie Nketiah, he doesn't have that in his game. He doesn't have the intelligence to understand where the space is. And sometimes what you see is Martinelli and Eddie clashing a lot in the central areas, which means that there's a lack of options in terms of where you can put that ball to make a threat within the box. Now, who you blame within that is up to you. But there's many factors to why it's kind of plateaued. And for me, one of the reasons is what Eddie Nketiah offers. I've always said it. As good as he's been and as much praise as he's been getting, this is his limit. He has like a 3. He's one of those players where you give him 3 games. Beyond that, you start to kind of see his level. And he's one of those purple patch players. And that's what you're starting to see. Look, he has flashes in games where it's brilliant. But it's also predictability. Like, one thing that Pep and City do magnificently is how they roulette their players. You know, even it's the worst FPL team to pick a player from, because even the likes of De Bruyne can be, sort of rotated out in certain games to suit certain types of games and narratives. But what Mikel's done is he's got his 11 and he's gone, yeah, I trust him fully. I'm only going to play this 11 and I'm only going to change them when it's like 70th, 80th minute. So that's where he needs to kind of get a bit more ballsy and go, do you know what? Martinelli, you ain't been good. I'm going to bring Trossard in. You've got to manage your squad. You've got to trust it, because you've bought Trossard. You bought the likes of Tomiyasu. You bought Benjamin White. You bought Saliba, Gabriel. You bought the likes of Fabio Vieira. Trust them to do a job sometimes. And not every single game requires you to play the same 11. And what's happening is, I don't think we're being found out, but it's become predictable. And sometimes when that happens, you've got to realize, you know what? Trossard suits certain games. Like, Everton was screaming for Trossard. It was like, this is the game where the game's tight. They've gone into a low block. What do you need? You need someone who's got tight dribbling, someone who's got immense close control. What does Trossard have? He has that in an abundance. And you've got to change it up. You've got to make it so that it's harder for the oppositions to prepare for you. Now, that's one part of the argument. Of course, when you look at our squad, Emil Smith-Rowe coming back into it, Gabriel Jesus when he comes back into it, even someone like a Reece Nelson in periods can do a job as well. I just think at the moment we've got too many similar profiles, and like Zinchenko is another prime example. I love the guy, but there's certain games that Tierney suits better when we need wider threats, to not isolate Martinelli too much. So I just think what Arteta needs to do is use his squad and stop like having this love affair. He's got, he's a very strange manager. He's hard to read because I'm like, oh, he's got a bit of Pep ruthlessness about him. But then I see a bit of Klopp sentiment to him as well, where he doesn't like to drop players. And I'm like, there's times where it calls for it. And I think now's the time. Going into that Man City game, there's some bold decisions that may cause an outcry from the fans, such as Trossard starting and potentially Martinelli or Eddie Nketiah getting dropped. We've got to have an element of surprise going into that Man City game. And I think that's what it is. And that's what I put it down to. I mean, I could be completely wrong and I could be overreactionary because it's a few games and it could just be a bad patch of form for certain players. But I just think it's too predictable at the moment.
Alhambra here with the super chat is saying, I'm not moving from the seat. He's quoting Pep, of course, I can assure you. Now more than ever. Before I had doubts, but now. But then he's saying no, he is coming for you. Sam, do you see this Arsenal team similar to Liverpool? Like the team that chased you for the last 2 years and before that, of course. I want to ask you something. Are you really thinking that you can get Arsenal on Wednesday? So if you win tomorrow and you win against Arsenal, you're tied on points, isn't it? And now it's one game at a time at that. Or you're thinking about next game. How do you think Pep is thinking about this Arsenal team? And from a Man City point of view, how are you seeing Arsenal? Are you seeing them as Liverpool? Like I'm going to call them the mentality man, because someone to chase Man City that long to get 90-something points is so hard, even though you chased them one season. But I think for the last 10 games, you were always ahead in the last 2 seasons. How are you seeing this Arsenal team and from a Man City point of view?
I think there's similarities. I think, like I said, the first half of the season, they've been pretty relentless up until this halfway point. I think they're similar in that Klopp, when he found that formula, he played the same 11 quite a lot. And I think it's probably with a similar reason behind it, in that the players that coming in at that time for Liverpool, they had, Origi and Minamino on the bench. They were never going to start ahead of that front three. I kind of hear what Salt's is saying about Trossard, and maybe for Martinelli, because Martinelli is probably going for a bit of a dip in form, not playing the best without Jesus and that interchange and that link up they've got compared to him and Nketiah. But apart from Trossard, there's no other Arsenal player, I don't think, you would bring off the bench and say he should start against Man City on Wednesday, and he'll be a significant or any sort of upgrade. That Arsenal 11 is played so much because that is their best 11. Not only is it played well, but I don't think there's anybody else who can come off the bench who would make a significant difference, apart from maybe Trossard at the moment. And even then, I think overall, Martinelli's had the better season, is the better player, maybe just not right now. But yeah, comparing them to Liverpool, obviously it goes down to the experiencing both manager and players. We were competing with Liverpool last season. They'd won a league. They'd got 90+ points. They'd got 97 points. They'd won the Champions League. So this Arsenal team are still really young, and I think that's kind of where you've got this unknown element so far this season, where Arsenal have been the best team in the league performance-wise. But City have got that experience of being able to go on a run. We haven't seen many signs of it yet. But I think that's what makes the gap now, especially, what is it, six points now as City play tomorrow. Quite interesting, just how the two teams balance out from this point. And to answer your question about if we beat Villa and then go to the Emirates and win as well, then yeah, of course we've got the momentum then, and we are absolutely right in it. But that's still, with our patchy form, that does feel a little bit far away still, being able to win both of these games coming up.
Double A, do you see any of these two teams, especially Arsenal, going on a run like what used to happen in the last 4 seasons? You know what I mean? Like just the run of 10 unbeaten runs. Like Arsenal did it, of course, in the first part of the season. But there's a difference between doing it when you're still in the early of the season, but business end of the season, as Daps always says, is much harder. Do you see any of these two teams just going on a run of wins?
Yeah, I think either of them can. I mean, Arsenal have been easily the best team in the league, and like you said, they were very, very good early part of the season. You could say they are going through their lull now, and I think, the loss last weekend and a draw today, if they get a point against City and then start winning again, that's not too bad of a lull really in their season. And I think they're very capable of picking that back up again. Like we saw against United, they were very, very good. And I think we held our own, and I was proud of the team, even though we lost. But they have got that mentality to dig out the win when it all looked like it was going to be a draw that game, and he went and got the win at the last minute, which is stuff of champions. We talk about champions doing that in championship winning. United done it for years and years. City have done it. They did it last season. Again, in the most dramatic way. If we go on to City, I think everyone's waiting for City to go on this run. I think everyone knows City can go on games and games and games winning. And I think everyone's waiting for that to happen.
This City? This Man City?
Why they've still got world-class players throughout the pitch and on the bench. Eventually it'll click. And I think if you doubt that, that's when they're probably going to show you that they actually absolutely can. And I think, we raved about Haaland at the start of the season, rightly so. It'll click again, and it'll start bagging on the regular again. And I expect it to be a lot closer than what people probably think. I know Arsenal fans are rightly confident. I seen Sol's tweet today. Absolutely, he was almost on the parade already with the pit before the game today. I thought he'd already lifted the title, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. There's a lot of football to play. I don't think we can write any team off. Well, of these two, I'm not saying United are in it at all. Let me just be very clear on that. But it'd be very silly. It'd be very, very silly to write off a Pep Guardiola team. Very, very silly. That's
but do you know what the other factor that I want to talk about? What you've got to understand is, as if obviously we're talking hypothetical because we don't know the future, but let's just say, right, we maintain this sort of gap. You do know this month, guess who returns? Gabriel Jesus. So we've got a big player coming back, someone who's going to change the way we play, and someone who Man City know better than anyone what Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus offered in the business end of the season for them and in their fight of, sort of getting those titles over the line. So when we think about it, that's like bringing in a whole new player that's refreshed. You could see it on his face today. The guy was like, I will rip my knee up again. I need to get on that pitch and score for them. He's hungry. That return for him is going to be big. So when I look at it like that, even at Emile Smith-Rowe, think about it now. We've got two players who can make an impact. Emile Smith-Rowe last season, off the bench, got double-figure goals and assists. So when you look at someone like that, one of our best finishers at the club, you could argue maybe Trossard's better, but them two, in terms of their conversion from chances, is the highest at the club right now. Emile Smith-Rowe ending the season, I think 10 to 12 goals with 8 assists or something, majority of that coming off the bench. Gabriel Jesus, you can see what he's done. He's brought, Martinelli's game to a whole new level. So I do think that's where my hope comes from. And look, it could be blind faith. It could be, Gabriel Jesus could come back and not be half the player he was. So maybe it is blind faith, but that is also a factor I think a lot of people are forgetting.
I can't just reply to that. Obviously, I don't want to talk for Sam, but I think a lot of City fans will tell you they've not been anywhere near their best this season. And I think Foden's not looked good since he's come back from the World Cup. You could talk about a few other players. Obviously, Cancelo's gone now, but like I say, I think you're right in what you're saying. You've got some good players to come back, but I think they've got a lot of good players to hit form. And I think if they do that, a lot will rest on the 2 games you've got with them. And especially coming in the back end of the season, he's definitely going to have some say on where the title will head. I think if you win on Wednesday, you've probably got one hand on it, potentially. And I think if City manage to get a win, which they're very capable of, it throws everything into the mix in that game at their place. Or the second game is going to be absolutely massive. But I just think there's a lot of football to play, and I think writing our title at the start of Feb is very dangerous for any team, really.
Yeah. Olo with the super chat, of course, saying the City team, and Olo have been one of our faithful members, and he always comes on the call-in show, and then he has been saying this for a couple of months now. This City team want to go on a run. He's an Arsenal fan. There's too many flaws in the team. We can talk about City, but I really just want to finish on Arsenal and saying, Danny, this Arsenal team, though, for you, being a Spurs fan, I know you hate to see this Arsenal team successful, of course. However, is this the hope that anybody can do it? Is this Arsenal team the hope for that? Because the dominance of Man City over the past year, especially with even Liverpool only getting one title over the last 5 years, is that the hope? This Arsenal team is the hope that anybody can win this league if they play good football, they're consistent. Is that what you see in this Arsenal team?
It's the hope that anybody can win the league if they back their manager over a long time period. There was parts. Well, this is where I tell Chelsea fans, like the ones that are like getting mad at Graham Potter and saying Graham Potter out. The same thing was being said by Arsenal fans about Arteta in the beginning of his regime. So I think if football clubs back their manager over a period of time, then anybody can win the league, of course. But I don't think a lot of clubs would do that, and a lot of clubs and a lot of fans are the ones that are the biggest corporates of this. I think they go straight for the manager most of the time, straight for the manager. That's the first place that the blame always goes. And it's a shame because you see a lot of managers getting sacked off of jobs like really, really early on. And you can look at the blueprint that you're trying to implement in the club. Like even like you see Leeds, Jesse March, that guy got sacked like ages earlier than everybody thought. That was way earlier than everybody thought. So I think a lot of football clubs, if they back their manager and they give them the players that they want, they give them the money that they want over a long period of time, yeah, anybody can win the league. This just proves it. This Arsenal team just proves it.
Yeah, I think this is the last thing I want to say about Arsenal, but also I want to just talk about something else after Arsenal. I want to talk about Spurs, that you guys were supposed to be the top four, and see the smirk on Sol's face, of course. You guys were supposed to be like there and there in terms of top four. It looks like you are drifting away, Danny. You are really drifting away from this top four race. There's no consistency. And I said today that on Twitter that you cannot win games with Eric Dyer, Davis, and Tanganga as your back three, especially with Forster being behind them.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. Is Conte right that this team has done the maximum last year? That's it for them.
It's the maximum, but if we don't get top four, I'm in the mud because I made a bet that if we didn't get top four, I have to get the R9 cut. Which looks like it's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good, bro. But yeah, this is why I said to fans when they say that we have a good January transfer window. We don't have a squad. We do not have a squad. We haven't signed we signed one center back in 4 years, and that was Christian Romero, and he was not available today. We don't buy defenders, and we don't buy players in the positions that we need them. We buy players in positions that we already have, like Danjuma. What was the point of signing him? We need a center back. The only good signing in this January transfer window is Pedro Porro. It's the only one that we needed. And yeah, he wasn't firing today, but I think he will prove himself. But I don't think we've got a squad to be challenging for top four. I think Conte did a miracle with us getting top four, and now he set the standard, and he can't keep it up with the squad. And it's really disappointing as a Tottenham fan, knowing that fans just constantly getting happy with average transfer windows, and then when the players get on the pitch, you see how average the transfer windows really are. So I don't think we've got a good squad. I don't think we've got any squad depth. We're already seeing like a few injuries in the midfield, and now in the Champions League. We're going to the Champions League this Tuesday against AC Milan, and our midfield is going to have to be Papa Mate Sarr and Oliver Skip. That's the only two players we have available in the midfield. And that's if we play midfield 2. If we play midfield 3, then we're done. But it's we don't even that's the thing. We don't even have the option to play midfield 3. Like the people saying that let's play midfield 3, we don't have the depth because one of them get injured, we're done. So I think we need so much more squad depth than a lot of people realize. And you see players from the Jose Mourinho era, you see players from the Pochettino era, you see players from the Nuno Espirito Santos era, you see players from the Conte era. And we can't just back one manager. We can't get back one manager. Like you see Arsenal. They backed one manager. Look where they are now. If we just back one manager, give him the players that he wants, we'll win a title. That's what clubs do. Like, if we back Conte, give him the players he wants, he will win us a trophy. But we just need more depth. We just need more depth. It's that simple. And fans just get too happy with bang average windows. It's unacceptable. The fact that players like Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Davinson Sanchez, players like that have been at this club for this long, and they haven't left. Like, we just got rid of Dele Alli the other day. It shows you how long, because we get too sentimental with players. Like Jurgen Klopp, that's what the fans just get way too sentimental with players. And if they find it so difficult to let them go, and then when they let them go, they're all like, oh no, he let them go. Look at Dele Alli right now. Look at Dele Alli right now. Like, we need to stop getting sentimental. We have to be more ruthless. Get rid of Eric Dyer, replace him. Get rid of Ben Davis, replace him. Get rid of like pretty much Oliver Skip isn't even good enough. People were gassing them up last season, but he's not good enough either. We need so much squad depth. Squad depth. We're more reliable. We're less reliable than Stevie Wonder in a maze. It's a joke. We have no players to back up. Our bench, half of the time, is like the whole youth team. It's a joke. We have no, and then people putting the blame on Antonio Conte is the thing that pisses me off the most. So what we need to do is back the manager. And I don't know how many managers failing at this football club is going to take for the fans to realize that. But I think it's going to get to the point where we're going to need relegation for fans to realize where the real problem lies.
I'm not sure if anybody, like, to be honest, the Spurs team are becoming. The problem is the way you spend money. The Dan Juma is a loan. Richarlison is an absolute failure of a forward. I'm not sure anybody would want Richarlison at the moment. Young Min's son, you held too long for the player, to be honest. Too long. It's too long, to be honest.
Well,
I don't think he's coming back to his form. I don't think. His first touch is gone somehow. I don't know. Listen, he can prove all of us wrong. And you guys can AA, Sam, or Souls. Sometimes players go in a dip, right? But you go on a dip in 23 games. He showed up this season for half an hour against Leicester in a game that was already won. I think so. I think they held too long. And this is something
I think, to be honest, this season I've been quite surprised by Spurs actually. after their window, I looked at the team and I looked at how they finished last season, how they went from sort of Conte onwards or January onwards once they brought in Bentancur and Kulusevski. I think they were keeping pace with City and Liverpool points wise. I think they scored the most goals in the league from January onwards last season. And I actually thought I'd be interested to see what Danny's thoughts were once the window shut in the summer. But I actually thought Spurs had a good window, and it surprised me how little they've got out of certain players that they brought in. They've had quite a few significant injuries this season, which hasn't helped. But actually, if you go through the spine of the team, at least like when the transfer window shut in the summer, and you looked at the performances the second half of last season, I mean, I agree that the keeper Lloris, I think he's a little bit outdated now in the context of how keepers play. But Romero. I thought Basuma was an excellent signing. I think it would have been an excellent signing for any top six team if you go back to the summer. Kane and Son. Son was obviously top goal scorer, so his drop-off has just been a complete mystery. And then Richarlison. I actually think Richarlison, I'm surprised. I mean, the fact has he scored in the Premier League this season for Spurs?
Not in the
You have to take
goals.
into account injuries.
Yeah,
You have to
of course.
take into account injuries.
Of course, but what I'm saying, it's not criticism of him necessarily, but I feel like it's surprising that Conte or Spurs haven't got the best out of him in general, because he's gone to the World Cup, gone to Brazil, top goal scorer for them, top goal scorer for an appalling Everton team last season with no service. I feel like he's someone that added or could have added a lot to Spurs. So it's been a bit of a mystery to me. I feel like maybe Conte's heart's not in it. I think he'll be gone at the end of the season. And I feel like the problem that Spurs have got at the moment is that, you want to bring in players in January, but why would you back a manager who's going to be gone in, what is it now, February? So 3 months. I think that's where they're stuck. And then the next appointment they make has got to be someone who's long term. I actually think Graham Potter would have been a really good appointment for Spurs in the long run. Chelsea have taken him.
We went in for him. He didn't want to come. When we were looking for a manager before we signed Nuno Espirito Santos, we went in for him, and he's like, "I want a Champions League club to go in for us."
Yeah,
so much a banter club we are. And by the way, when it comes to Richarlison, we're not playing him in his position. We've been playing him on the right all season. That's the position that he's played in the least amount of times throughout his whole career. We're the club that buys a midfielder to play him at wing. We don't buy players in the position and then we expect them to do the same job. Like Richarlison is a striker. Richarlison signed a contract saying that he was going to be a backup to Kane. He knew it because when we went in for Gabriel Jesus, we told him the same thing, and Gabriel Jesus said, "No, we don't want to go to be a backup to Kane. I want to go to be a starting striker." That's why he signed for Arsenal. Richarlison signed to be backup to Kane. So when Kane gets overplayed, which he's been overplayed all season, bring on Richarlison and give Kane a rest. I don't understand what the hesitance is, the hesitancy to take off Kane is and give him a rest.
Because
The
I don't
guy's been
think he will
playing all
ever win
season.
a game without Harry Kane.
Kane don't
But
want to
like,
come off.
but there's some games that are already won, and we just allow him to stay on the pitch, and then people wonder why he gets so many injuries.
He hasn't
I
been
think
injured this year, Danny, has he?
he hasn't been injured this year, but most
Yeah.
seasons he's got that ankle that he's famous for getting injured. I just think when it comes to signing and January transfer window, you're asking my opinion on the summer transfer window. Sorry, I think we got a lot of players, and yes, Basuma's a good signing. We got a lot of good players, but the main positions that we needed reinforcement in, we didn't fix. A right wing back we got. The right wing back we got, Conte didn't want. Conte did not want Jed Spence. We go sign Longley, but that's not really a signing. That's a stopgap. That's a loan because we couldn't sign Bastoni, and that's an excuse to be just happy that we signed the center back. We signed the left wing back, but he has to stay on a loan at the club that he's already at, Destiny Udogie, who I think is actually a good signing, but it's a shame he has to stay in his club. We'll have him next season. Midfield, we signed Basuma, nobody else, and up top, we need a backup striker. Fair play. We got Richarlison. And in my opinion, we needed a goalkeeper. We didn't get a goalkeeper. Well, we did, but we got Fraser Forster. Like that guy belongs in the same retirement home as Perisic. So it's pointless. It's pointless to sign a goalkeeper like Fraser Forster. We've never signed a goalkeeper to give competition to Lloris. We've never. We've just got one to just sit there and Lloris still be comfortable in goal. Lloris has never been pushed for the number one spot. Lloris has never been pushed.
And I think he just signed he signed a contract for like until 2025, didn't he? Last
Lloris.
year. Yeah, I think so. Or 2024.
I think it was 2 years ago, and it's coming to an end. Either way, I would
hope
like
so,
to have
for the
Lloris
sake
in the
of
club.
the club that he leaves, to be honest.
I would like to have Lloris in the club, like as a coach, though, as a goalkeeping coach, because people like holding on. Oh, he's a club legend, club captain. Oh, keep him at the club, bro. Stop with the sentiment. Like he can stay as a coach. He can stay as a coach. If not, move on to like some random team in France. You've been at the club too long. You're washed. Your ball touch is absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. My nan has a better first touch than Hugo Lloris. It's a joke.
Well, he's better than Forster, to be honest.
Yeah, but
Just put it
Forster's
this
on
way.
slow motion.
Let's just put it this way.
Forster's on slow motion, man. Like the poor guy just came in to get cash and just sit on the bench all season. Like he knows Forster's not good enough. Forster's not good enough to be number one. So yeah, that's the thing though. When people say that I don't rate Lloris and they're like, oh, so what happened, bro? Just because I don't rate Lloris doesn't mean that I rate Forster. They're both terrible. We need somebody to come in to replace Hugo Lloris long term. I would like David Raya, Jordan Pickford. There's a lot of options out there. We just got to go in for one. But I don't think we reinforced in the positions that we needed to answer your question in the summer transfer window. Yeah, we got a few shiny signings like a midfielder and Basuma. But at the end of the day, we didn't get the players that we needed in certain positions that it was obvious that we needed reinforcement in.
Yeah, absolutely. From Spurs, I want to jump to the team that is... Listen, Sama, I was thinking yesterday something. Wouldn't it be funny if Man City actually win the league, but then the charges are... Imagine the situation, right? Like, you win the league, but then you're found guilty for some of the charges. Because I heard yesterday that it doesn't matter what City does. They are coming with 124 charges now. They dropped some of them to 110. And they are like adamant to just... like find some charges that you're going to be guilty of, whatever. You're going to deduct point. I want to move to the football pitch because it looks like this league, anybody can win this league. Even I don't want to call up Man United. I say Man United are out because who says that nobody like Man United cannot go on a run like what they did after the first two games. So Man City though, you still can win this league. Are you still thinking about winning the league or the charges and all the fight with the Premier League is in the back of the players' heads? and which is Pep said in the press conference, no, they are not. But I still think the players are thinking about it. What do you think about like the players going to the next 2 games are very crucial for the title race with all these accusations in the back of their heads?
I don't think the players are thinking about it as probably as much as the fans are. Really, I think they just go in and do their job. They're kind of in a weird way used to this situation after a couple of years ago with UEFA. And once the football rolls around again, everyone kind of just shift to thinking about what's happening on the pitch. There's so much talk about this week what's going on off the pitch with City. But as soon as the games kick off today, people are talking about the Chelsea West Ham game earlier, and now Arsenal dropping points, and whether we can win tomorrow. So, this situation may not get resolved for years. So, I think the players apparently been reassured from the senior execs inside the club, and like I say, it's a weird scenario because they've partly been through this similar situation before. So, I think they'll just get on with it and focus on the game tomorrow. And to be honest, their day job doesn't really change too much with this in the short term, anyway, short medium term. So, I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's just been more the fact that there's been a weird feel around City since they come back from the World Cup. Just certain things off the pitch, even before this, weren't quite sort of adding up really. With Cancelo being shipped out short notice, falling out with Pep, Foden sort of missing games strangely here and there, injuries, illness, not in the squad last week. Back now apparently, but I'd be surprised if he starts tomorrow. Diaz and Laporte on the bench, barely getting a look in. De Bruyne on the bench last week. So lots of weird things kind of going on. So I think it's kind of it's nothing to do with the Chargers really. We've been pretty inconsistent on the pitch anyway, like I've already said. So I don't think anything off the pitch will change too much what's going to happen on the pitch. The only small positive maybe to come from it, like Pep said yesterday, is that this maybe might even galvanise the team a little bit and create a bit of siege mentality. Who knows?
Yeah.
Don't you think
Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
I was going to ask, don't you think though the players are like, I'm not saying that this would happen, but like I think certain players have come out publicly, and I think as soon as it happened, we saw reports that Kevin De Bruyne wanted out, Phil Foden reportedly wanted out as well. So and we saw Joao Cancelo wanted out. Maybe he knew something that everybody didn't. So don't you think that players are like starting to get worried about where their careers can go? Like if they end up going to championship or something, they don't want to be playing in the championship. Or if it does come out that they did break the regulations, they don't want to have that thing on their name that you won those leagues, but illegally. They would want to go to a clean club. I think if I was a professional footballer, I wouldn't want to have that on the back of my name.
Yeah, and obviously if it came about that City had committed all of those charges, then I think they would feel like that. But I think until it gets to that point, I just don't think that's how they feel. I think they've been reassured enough last time, and were proven right, and they've been given the same message this time. I don't think they're thinking, oh, we might be in the Championship next year. I don't think players kind of really think like that. And like I said, this could be years away from being sorted. And what's interesting, last time when we had the charge from before from UEFA, we were still sort of signing players, and it was business as usual. So I think what is Daps
is saying that KDB will be retired by the time charges are confirmed. It's kind of like, right,
he might well be,
3-4 years. He really might be retired by that time, to be honest. Like, but I get what Danny's saying, though. I get what Danny's saying. Some players are like, because when it happened to Juventus, but that was different. Some Juventus players said, no, we want to go. Like Patrick Vieira left, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Yeah. But some players said, you know what, we're staying. So there might be that situation, but I don't think this season players will be thinking about it, will they? You are here, you're getting paid, just do the job, win the games that you're supposed to win. It's still the Champions League, and that would never affect the Champions League. Right, like it doesn't matter. Even if they're found guilty, the Champions League are the Champions League. They're not being charged by UEFA. That has nothing to do with the Champions League run or something, right? Games.
Yeah, true. It'd be typical City if we win the Champions League and we're in League Two next year.
Yeah. Maybe. Double A. About the City situation before we move to Man United tomorrow against Leeds away and what this game means to you, especially after today's Newcastle. And I think Man City, though, being the rivals. How are your feelings about this charges? Do you really want Man City to be dropped? Or does that hurt the Premier League? Is that rivalry good for Man United, being in the same city?
Yeah, I mean, the arsehole in me says kick him out. I never want to see him in the Football League again. Obviously, being a Red, but personally, I love playing Man City. It's, you know, the second biggest game I look for. You know, Liverpool will always be the team I hate most, always, just because that's how I was growing up. My dad instilled that into me, and you know, but City were always the little brother when we were growing up as kids. They just a team that was in the same city. But as they've grown in stature, as the games have become bigger and bigger, not so much anymore because they can say obviously they've been fighting for titles and we haven't. But there's a, you know, for me the derby still holds a lot of weight, and it's always nice to have them in the Premier League 100%. With what's going on, I mean, the Premier League won't be doing it without good reason. And I think a 4-year investigation lets me believe that they've really been trying to get enough evidence to make it watertight and try and charge him with whatever it is that they're trying to charge him. You're talking about how will that affect the players tomorrow? It shouldn't at all, because the players can only affect what they can affect, and that's on the pitch. So, you know, I'm not going to go into work and worry about what the CEO's got to worry about, because that's nothing to do with me. I go and do what I get paid to do, and that's what they get paid to do. So I expect City to be focused 100% on the game tomorrow, and that's what Pep will instill in him, and that's what he'll always do, because he's a very professional manager. So it's unprecedented, and I think we've seen that a lot. You know how it's been reported, all these charges thrown at the club at once, and I might get pelted from United fans for this, but City do seem to get a lot of shit, to be honest with you, and I think it always seems to be us against them, and they're they're the first club that really got a massive takeover. You know, you could talk about Chelsea, but City's was on a different level to that, and you felt it instantly with City, whereas I think Chelsea was kind of more of a slow burner. But I think City, you knew it straight away, you know. And I do feel like people want them to fail. I think people do want them to be.
Why do people want them to fail, but they're okay with Chelsea buying a £35 million centre back in Koulibaly, and then it doesn't work, and then going in the next window and buying another 35 million, buying a winger for £50 million sterling, and it doesn't work, and then go and buying another one, and the club was sold, yes, but I'm sorry, this is so much money. So why are clubs on Man City? Are that because the newest member of this Big Six thing?
Because for me, looking at it from where I stand, Chelsea were always kind of not there on their about, you know, in the
Chelsea
90s.
Chelsea were in the Champions League, weren't they? When Roman took over,
they've won FA Cups, they've won cups, they're in the Champions League. It looked like they had a steady from the 90s up until when they won that league. They had a steady rise and everything like that. Whereas City kind of just bam in a couple of years later won the Premier League and have been the most dominant team since then. You know, every competition they go in, they're mostly always favourites to win it, and people don't like that. People think, you know, they still look at you need to be traditional. Rich owners are just throwing money at it. This, and this, and how else can you get your feet under the table without doing that? And I think, you know, I'm not saying they're guilty or they're not, but if they have been, then obviously they should be punished. But you know, if it is a case of that, these things are a bit frivolous and not as serious, and it is just a case of the elite trying to force City out, I'm against it, because Every club should have the right to be the best club in the world. Every club, doesn't matter who you are, apart from Liverpool and Leeds. But and City a little bit. But I mean, no, I'm joking. But I mean, who are these clubs to gatekeep City wanting to be the best club in the world? No one should be able to do that. So I get it. I can get where City fans may come from now. That siege mentality, really, batten down the hatches and support their team as they rightly should. Because United have had it in the past, but we'll have to wait and see. Like you say, we'll probably all be off YouTube by the time the charges come through anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think it's only going to be banning the owners, forcing them to sell, and I think it's only going to be maybe a transfer ban for a couple of years or something. I think it's exactly going to be like maybe point deduction next year. They're going to start with like minus 10 points or something. I don't think it's going to be that bad. This is just from 3 times at Serie A that happened. So
yeah. Give me my 2021 Carabao Cup. I'm shameless. I'm shameless. Give me my.
No, we need. No, if they do get everything took off them, we need to just null and void it because no one wants Gerrard having a Premier League. Let me tell you, not one person.
No, I don't care.
You can't take that slip away. You can't take that.
Danny's too young. Double A. This is a big thing, Danny. This is a massive thing. You have no idea.
Massive.
There's a big fan base. There's a big fan base that lives
I'm flying to
waiting for
London.
Gerrard.
The open top bus parade. Carabao Cup champions.
Give Spurs the Carabao, but everything else gets void. I'm happy with that.
Thank you.
I want to go to United a little bit. That Leeds game, though. It's should we call United like the Casemiro team now? Is that how we should call them? It's not banter. It's just for me. It's not only about the result because you could have won the game. It's the way you played the first half without Casemiro.
Do there's a famous Chris Rock joke, and he says something like, "I'm paraphrasing, but when you're homeless and you get given a cracker, that's the best cracker you've ever had in your life. You're like, I want another cracker." That's what we're like with Casemiro. We've waited so long for a world-class midfielder that when we get one, we can't believe it. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. This is the best thing I've ever seen. So we've wanted a functional midfield since Carrick was retired. We've not replaced Carrick. So when we get someone like that and he go, you can see the difference. The drop-off is astronomical. It's crazy. So we need more play. It just makes us prove that we need more players like that. He's an unbelievable footballer, and I think he's a lot better than a lot of people even realised he was from seeing him at Real Madrid. I think, as you know, Mo, Brazil are my national team, so I know a lot about him, and I followed his career quite a lot. What I think people didn't realise is how technically gifted he actually is and what he can offer going forward
he was
to the
surrounded
team.
by Toni Kroos and Luka Modric for years, so you don't need to play football.
He didn't need to do it. He didn't need to do any of that with them players ahead of him. But now he's at Manchester United. He's given that license to do that a little bit more, and he's shown how great he is. I think when Sabitzer settles, I think you're going to see another quality player in there. Eriksen comes back and isn't relied upon as much. We talk about players being overplayed, Harry Kane and some of the Arsenal players. Eriksen has just been absolutely ran into the ground. I think we started to see after 60 minutes that he's really on his last legs at the Arsenal game at the Emirates. The first half is probably one of the worst first halves I've seen him play for Manchester United. I just thought he was off the pace massively. There were calls for Fred to play. It's just a case of we're finally catching up, and we just, for me, I can't believe we've actually bought him. It was out of the blue. You're talking about chasing De Jong all summer and the issues with doing that, and then it was Rabiot and the issues with that. To go and get Casemiro, for me, possibly the best midfielder in the league.
So much money on a 30 years old midfielder, to be honest. Yes, he changed the way you play, but that's a lot of money for a 30 years old. You disagree with that?
Is it though?
It's like 60 million pounds. You paid 60 million pounds
for one of the best players in the world. I think
he wasn't when you bought him. By the way, he looks like the best player.
He just
He
won
looks
the,
like
he
the
just
best
won the
player in the
double. He
world.
just won the league.
He looks like the best
He
player
just
in
won
the
the league in the
world
Champions League.
because he plays for Man United. I mean, your midfield is shit. He's
No,
amazing,
no.
though. He's
Yeah, I
amazing.
think-
Don't
I
get me
think-
wrong. He's
I think you're
amazing.
being-
But he
I think you're
wasn't.
being unfair
He
there.
wasn't the best player in Real Madrid. Like he's not like Casemiro. Like he was good and all, but he looks good because I'm not sure if the other guys agree or not.
I'm
Because
sorry,
he,
I think
sorry.
I think I'll be honest, at the time when United brought, I think he was 29 in the summer when they paid 60, 70 million on a 3-4 year contract, like 300 grand. I thought United were mad, but you know what? I think between him and Martinez, I think annoyingly they've proved their value already, and I think Casemiro, the way he plays that role, the way he can control a game from midfield, really, like we say, he's technically way better than I think anybody realised, because that just wasn't his job at Real Madrid. But obviously his ability to break up play, the experience that he shows, and he's the kind of player, who I think could play for another, 5-6 years, 35. And then when you bring a player of that quality in, who's shown that leadership and brought the team up that level, 60 million is not really a lot these days.
it's not a lot now. You know what the problem is? Chelsea ruined this market, to be honest. Like when Man City paid for Grealish, who was the superstar for Aston Villa. Basically, Jack Grealish was the superstar for the bottom half of the table, basically, which is what City paid 100 million for. But I'm not sure. Souls, Casemiro though, Thomas Partey, Casemiro, this Rodri, Casemiro, Thomas Partey thing. How do you see Casemiro changing the way Man United play, from your point of view as an Arsenal fan?
Do you know what it is, right? Like, just to quickly touch on the whole transfer prices and stuff as well. For me, if that's the right player, you pay what you need to pay. I mean, if you know for a fact that this is my guy, you go pay your 90 million, you go pay whatever you need to pay. But you got to make sure that it is your guy and that he's that sort of piece that's missing in your system. Now, when you look at Casemiro, look, I watch more La Liga football than I do watch like Premier League. And Casemiro, like he was that annoying little shit when we used to play in the El Clasico every single time. Yo, he got into that red card. I actually said it. I go, I'm not surprised. This is what you bought. Them red cards are gonna happen. But look, at Real Madrid, he was a bit more protected. He didn't get the reds as much. But like Sergio Ramos, there's a red card coming. There's that aggression in him. There's the passion, or whatever you want to call it. A rival will call it aggression. The fans will call it passion. Whatever, right? But those hothead moments or moments of madness are in him. But in terms of, just forget about all of that for a second. Just as a player, he is remarkably underrated. Like, it's an injustice because he's played with Modric and Cruz. It's similar to like David Villa, Pedro, when Messi was there. Messi was the guy because, obviously he was the Ballon d'Or winner. He was the guy getting all the plaudits, but no one knows what David Villa did. No one knows what like Pedro did, what Alexis Sanchez was doing. It's similar to like Busquets got overshone by, Xavi and Iniesta. That's what was happening to Casemiro, in my opinion. I'm not saying to that scale, but when you look at Casemiro, you know what he is. He's an industrial center defensive mid, someone who's just solid. He's going to give you minimum, unless he gets a red card, but, minimum sort of 6 to 7 performances. Like I said, premise the red card. Obviously, that drops your rating a bit, but bar that, he's going to give you solid performances. Now what you're seeing is something which I'm not going to say I'm surprised, but I'm just weirded out by is the goals he's scoring, because that's a part of the game where we haven't seen him consistently do it. I think it was your FA Cup or Carabao Cup, I can't remember, but he scored 2 goals. I think it was Nottingham Forest, if I'm not mistaken. And there were 2 long shots. They were the only 2 games. He broke the deadlock, and obviously he scored the second.
Reading it was, yeah.
Was it Reading? Sorry, my bad. Yeah. So he scored the 2 goals, and everyone, look, we were watching that game like, oh shit, they're out of the FA Cup. And then Casemiro pops up, and does what he does. And now you're seeing, you make a good point though, Mo. Like, obviously, when you're in a shit midfield, you look way better because, no disrespect, I'm on the base of like Bruno Fernandes ain't as good as people make him out to be. That's just my opinion. We can have that debate later if you want. But what you've had is McFred. It's similar to us when we had like Hector Bellerin, then we had Tomiyasu. We're like, oh my fucking God, that's what a right back can do? Fuck me. You know what I mean? And it's like when you go from, Petr Cech, look, he's had an industrial career for Chelsea, but when he came to us, couldn't play out the back, he couldn't do the sweeper role. And then you go and get like Aaron Ramsdale. When you actually even forget that, when we had Emi Martinez because he got injured against Brighton, you were like, fucking hell, this is what a goalkeeper can actually be for us. And it's like Casemiro's that for them. It's like, wow, we've really missed a DM. Not even like, oh, we missed a DM. It's like, no, we really missed a DM. And when you look at McFred, you just realize how shit they actually are. Not, oh, they were doing a job. Because I know a lot of people saying McFred, yeah, they do their job. They're, they get themselves about, blah, blah, blah. But then when you look at Casemiro, you're like, actually, do you know what? The levels were so below. Like, I reckon if Casemiro came in when Mourinho came in, that second place could easily have been a Premier League title. So that's the levels you're talking about. That's the kind of player he is. Unfortunately, you got him at 30. I do agree. Like, paying for a 30-year-old kind of limits what you can do moving forward. But what he brings you is the experience of winning Champions Leagues. He's won La Liga titles. He's gone head-to-head with Barcelona at the pomp of their powers as well. Going to them fine margins like what you see Liverpool City do. Now, I know people don't rate La Liga, which is fair enough, but they've battled it out in some seasons. You're looking at a person who's won Copa del Rey's, he's experienced under different managers, under different systems. He's been around elite winners like Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, Modric, Cruz. Now the perfect opportunity. Now it's what United do. Do you now go get yourself that project DM that Casemiro can teach and, nurture into the player that he can become? Otherwise, in my opinion, I don't care what he does, that's a wasted 60 million because the experience that he can bring to you, and it's kind of that teaching moment, where he's a 30-year-old that's done it all. Obviously, international, you can whatever, but, that's not everyone does it, but he's been there, he's done that. Get yourself like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, whatever, DM that you can culture into his position. And then when he goes in like 2-3 seasons' time, that 20-year-old becomes 23, 24, ready to come in, ready with all that experience and that sort of quality that he needs with the understanding of the role. That's what I would say 60 million well spent.
Yeah. It's just, listen, it's kind of strange, this Casemiro. Go ahead, Double A. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I absolutely agree with Solskjaer, and I think a lot of United fans was hoping that's what James Garner would be, but because of the money situation, he ended up getting shipped off to Everton, which angered a lot of fans. But I echo what Dan was saying earlier on about Spurs buying players in the wrong positions. If you look at not last summer transfer, the summer before when we got Ronaldo, Varane, and Sancho, it was positions we didn't need. We went into that season with McFred, Mata, and Donny van der Beek as our midfield, and I think we were screaming for a player then of that quality. So we've been starving for a long time, and it's just nice to see a leader in the middle of the park that is having an effect in the whole team from front to back. He's really affecting it in a positive way, and it's something to build on. And it's clear to see why we miss him, because for me, like I say, you talk about Partey, you can talk about Rodri, who are world-class players. He's right up there with him. I'm not going to say he's better than him, but for me, the impact he's had on that Manchester United team is immeasurable for a lot of fans, for sure.
100%. We've been going for an hour, 10 minutes. I just want to ask you guys each one question. Because one of the teams that is really affecting the league, maybe not on the table, but off the pitch, is Chelsea. Because I was thinking today, you play against West Ham. They played good 10 minutes. And they signed all these players. They took players from Arsenal. I think they signed Fofana. I think Wesley Fofana. Someone wanted Wesley Fofana earlier this season, and they went and signed him and paid that much money. Modric as well. Enzo Fernandez. Record break. How does that affect, like, signing all these players and not playing and not winning games? How does that affect the Premier League going forward? This is just simple words.
I think it's way too early still. I think
it's too early.
I think it's way too early. I think they've brought nearly a whole new 11 in the last 6 months, and and like most teams won't go out in this sort of spree in January and bring in this many players. Usually be in the summer. Usually have a pre-season, at least get some sort of integration or some patterns of play or some sort of chemistry across 4 or 5 friendlies maybe. They've just literally just dropped them in last 2 games, 2 London derbies. It's the Premier League at the end of the day. Every single game is extremely competitive. I watched that Chelsea game last week against Fulham, ready to watch Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez and see how Chelsea's sort of shiny new signings played. And actually, Fulham were excellent. The fullbacks are brilliant.
Yeah.
The midfielders brilliant. Paulinho. And it just shows the level of the level and the quality across all the teams in the league. And yeah, it's going to take Chelsea. They'll probably start seeing some progress maybe towards the end of the season in terms of players starting to look like they can gel and fit together. Because at the end of the day, you can spend 100 million on a player, but they're still at the end of the day just a human, a footballer, an athlete that's still got to work together with other people in the team. There's different languages in there now, different players settling in, probably players still moving house, buying flats, sorting their families out. So it's the whole other thing behind the scenes, which people probably won't really think about, that they won't be able to get sorted, I reckon, until the summer. So they probably will be bouncing around mid-table this season, might finish 7th or 6th at best, maybe European football. But yeah, I think they've got to give Graham Potter time as well. Ultimately, I think if they try and change it again now, then where would they go from here if they then change the manager?
Model for them.
Facts.
That was a successful model for them. It doesn't work.
But look where it left them now.
Yeah, but the players were the same.
Look at where
They
they're now.
They left them with the most successful club in the last 20 years in England. This is where they are with that model.
The players were the same. It's easy to change the manager when you've got Drogba, Lampard, John Terry, Cech, Ashley Cole running the dressing room for 10 years. You can change the manager though, because the manager, that kind of model works. But this is a whole new set of players who need continuity in the same manager.
And here's the other thing. You look at this Chelsea team now, and what are the biggest problems? What is probably the biggest problem in this Chelsea team? You've got identity of Conte, Jose Mourinho. You've got some I forgot the name of this guy, but you've got
Thomas Tuchel. No,
Lampard, I wasn't going to say him. I was saying
as well.
Yeah, so many different managers. You've got their identity in this team. So many different players, and you've got the problem that you're trying to play Graham Potter football with these type of players. That's why I wouldn't try and be chopping and changing managers left, right, and center. For me, back a manager, and try and build something like perfect blueprint. Arteta at Arsenal right now. You've got Sir Alex Ferguson at Man United. There's constant blueprints that when you back a manager for a certain period of time, they'll win you things. Like it's proven that it works.
I think it's
so.
Unfair.
I disagree. Robin?
I think it's unfair, to be honest. Like they can just do that. They can just sign players for every manager as much as they want. I just think it's unfair.
I think fair play to them. They found a loophole in FFP.
That's not fair play. They found a fair play. Arsenal couldn't sign. Imagine if Arsenal could sign Caicedo this window. How would that change the season? Chelsea went and signed 280 million pounds players and a 106 and a 35 million defender. That's unfair. I'm sorry.
Don't get mad at Chelsea. Get mad at FFP for allowing this to happen, for allowing those loopholes to be existent there.
I'm getting mad at the first. Sometimes reality, the law is unfair. Just sometimes.
Yeah, that's why for me the whole Manchester City situation as well. I'm gonna bring it into this.
For me, I'm just gonna say one thing, Danny. For me, Chelsea now are exactly as PSG. I want them to fail.
Listen, I think all of us want Chelsea to fail, especially me being a Tottenham fan. I want Chelsea to fail with everything, but at the same time, I would give anything to have Chelsea's owners, and everybody on this panel, probably would have the same. So I think with the whole Man City situation as well, I don't think what City did is wrong. I don't think it's morally wrong, but they need to get sanctioned because at the end of the day, it was against the law. I disagree with the law. That's the thing. I disagree with the rules of FFP. I don't like FFP, but I'm not going to sit here and be mad at Chelsea. I'm going to be mad at FFP because they're the ones that have allowed these loopholes to exist. Chelsea, fair play to them. They've found the loopholes. They've gone out there and they found the loopholes and they've done this a legal way.
Souls
They've
on
got
double.
it.
Do you know
Am
one
I
of the biggest?
Souls, am I wrong to feel about like we all want PSG because that model of buying every superstar you see around you? Am I wrong to feel about like this about Chelsea? Am I wrong? Like being neutral.
I think it's more Mo. Don't take this like it's not a insult. I think it's more of jealousy because I feel it as well.
Absolutely.
I'm jealous
Listen,
of Chelsea.
100%.
But you know what the problem is? It's not even. It's you know what the problem is though. It's yes, we all want it, but you know what the problem becomes? It's now making clubs not be able to negotiate a price, which is what we saw. We were dealing with Mudryk, obviously, in the sense of we were trying to talk to Shakhtar. Maybe a deal was never going to be struck, right? But the point is, when Bowley just comes in and goes, "How much did you want? 100 million euros. Here you go. Have it. Whatever model you want, however you want it, we'll pay it." That ruins football because now what can you do? Like, say, for example, like any of us go in for a player and Todd Bowley's like, "Oh, you want 120 million? Yeah, I've had it, mate. I've had it." Number one, it exploits the amount of money that the Premier League truly has. Number two, it means that clubs will now have to overpay. We don't have a choice. We don't get the choice anymore because Todd Bowley, that little dickhead, is going to come in with some stupid evaluation of a player and go, "Here you go." The thing is, yes, I am jealous. Don't get it twisted. Yes, I want my club to do that. But at the same time, can we have some normality in football? We're not businessmen going to become businessmen again. This is stupidity. This is not viable. This is daft. If you think he's a good businessman, fuck off. Because you're telling me the man can't negotiate a deal. The man comes in and just pays what you want. Say, for example, right, like someone's coming in here and the house is up for sale for 200k. I'm coming in trying to negotiate, go, "Look, there's these many problems with this, and this. I'll give you 180 for it." And then Todd Bowley fucking comes in and goes, "No, I'll give you 240 for it." Like, what kind of stupidity is this? Now what you've got is you've got Saicedo, who's only played like 30 professional games. You've got Mudryk, who's got 30 professional games. The man's got 2 games everyone remembers in the Champions League, and he's gone for 100 million euros. Am I a dickhead? Am I miss something? Did I wake up in a different universe? Like, am I missing something with Saicedo? What is the first season he's played? What am I now going to go? Do you know what, Emil Smith? I know you're injured, but fuck yeah, I want 200 million for you. You know, Bukayo Saka, now I want 800 million for you. What are we now going to start becoming ridiculous with the evaluations we put on our players? What are they now going to value Haaland at? 700 million? Just because they can? Because he's one of the best strikers in world football. And he's proven it in many, many seasons. Do you see where I'm coming? I know it's a mad hypothetical I'm talking about, but that's my problem with it. It's not the fact they've gone and spent money, but look at Neymar. Neymar's the prime example. If you want to take it back to where before it was normal, that £222 million release clause that PSG paid, that ruined football. Because then what happened was Van Dijk's going for 80 million. Alisson, by the way, Alisson was a backup at AS Roma, if I'm not mistaken, and he went for 70 million.
He wasn't.
He was a starter.
That season, he was the starter for them.
That
season, he went to the semi-final of the Champions League, so yes, and he was one of the reasons.
Okay, but that again, another point being the first season that he's had, but he's properly played,
yes,
and he's going for 75 million. Because the Neymar's gone for 222 million. Then you had Mbappe going for 180
that's one
million.
player, Souls. Now
But then you had
understand.
One
club is buying everybody. It's just weird.
Yeah, and then now you've got Chelsea doing it, and the same thing's going to happen. The market can never go back to normal because it's not. The thing is, when people say it's smart or look at Todd Bowley, what a great owner he is. No, he's just ruining football.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And for people saying it's jealousy, it's not only jealousy. I don't support a team in the Premier League, but I also do want to see a team that can buy players. Just because one player failed for 6 months, like Koulibaly, you can just go and buy another replacement. Imagine if football becomes like this. I think, first of all, you're not going to give chance to any player to recover their value or their playing career, because you're just going to be able to replace them. If they play 6 months bad, you're just going to replace them. And clubs are not going to be able to negotiate. And I think that ruins the beauty of football. Like Man City, you guys signed only Jack Grealish for 100 million, and you said it's either him or Harry Kane that year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
it just happened.
I think they wanted both, but yeah, we'll go with that.
And City tried to go for both, but they decided to go for 100 million
For
Jack
one.
Grealish, and then they try to go for the exact same price as Jack Grealish for Harry Kane. But listen, here's the thing though. Chelsea are also making a problem for themselves because now they also have to deal with their situation that they've created. It's not like Chelsea now just don't have this problem as well. They also face the problem of having to overpay for players. But that's something that they've signed up for, and they're like, all right, fairs, I'm going to do that. It's just it's in my opinion, I get where you're coming from, but if an owner is prepared to pay the money that a club wants for a player, he should be allowed to.
Not every player.
But
No, but that leaves
that's-
you
that's
guys
where
Spurs in the worst position though, because then again, Arsenal have shown that we can spend money. Man City have shown they'll spend money. United have shown they'll spend money. Spurs, well, they're the most stingy out of the lot of us.
Spurs, though, they spend. My problem with Spurs is not that we spend money; it's that we spend money in the wrong places. We're looking at infrastructure to get a hotel. A hotel. Fuck a hotel. We need a center back. Why are you trying to make a hotel outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
But that's different to your transfer budget. That won't matter.
Yeah,
It does.
Yeah,
It does because in the financial reports it shows a hotel. And by the way, the concerts that people were saying that that were going back into the club, they don't show in the financial reports. I tell you where they went. I'll tell you where they went. Levy's pockets, Enix pockets. That's exactly where it went. The NFL games, Enix pockets. It's not for the club. We're becoming a business, and the stadium is becoming its own business. The stadium is becoming its own business. Tottenham are add-on. It's like, well, we've got this brilliant stadium for you, and sometimes on the weekend, Tottenham come and play in it. Tottenham have the privilege to come and play in the stadium. It's our stadium. Stop making it a business. We don't want hotels outside the stadium. They're trying to push us away from the community. And this man named this whole story that, oh yeah, we're doing it for the community, make a better site for the community. It's BS. Everything that this ownership does is BS. They don't care about the environment. They keep doing this green thing. They just signed a deal with some oil company, like the other day, like a car that's like famous for like leaving bad things in the environment. And then the other day they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna sign a deal with Premier League for green. It's all BS. It's all BS. All they care about is getting money for themselves. This is a business for them. This is a business for them, and that's why they will never sell. They will never sell.
Okay.
But that's why, like, we don't put the money in the players that we actually need.
Yeah.
If we were to do something like Chelsea, that's why I'm not gonna sit here and blame Chelsea and get mad at Chelsea, because I wish we had somebody like Todd Bowley to back a manager. That's why we haven't won a trophy in 20.
Backing your manager is a different thing to then. Well, I'm not talking about backing a manager because we back our manager clearly. There's ways of doing it, without having to spend stupid amount of money doing it. That's what I'm saying. Because like, even if you look at Arsenal, would you say Arteta's been backed? Pretty much everyone says yes. But have we gone with the way that Chelsea have gone and done it? No. So
you spend more money than us in the last 5 years. In the last few transfer windows, you spend more money than us.
This is going to turn into a financial lesson for people. But anyway, we've been going for 120 minutes. We're 5 likes away from 150. So please, guys, hit that like button for us if you can. I want to thank everybody that joined me. Sam, Double A, thank you for joining. Souls, the regular here, and Dan as well. Danny, thank you so much, guys, for being here. If you want to plug in, of course, I know Double A, the talking kit. Where can people find you, man? Just let the people know where to find you, my friend.
Yeah, so my channel, Talking Kit. If you're into your football shirts, just come over and check us out. We'll do the best football kit content on the internet. Weekly show, or 2 weekly shows. So yeah, come over and subscribe to us and check us out. Talking Kit on YouTube. But yeah, big up the panel. It's good to be back on Never a Foul. So big up the chat I've been seeing. It's been popping. So yeah, big up everyone, and make sure you follow all these guys here.
All these guys' socials are in their boxes if you see on YouTube. Sam, where can people find you? On Twitter, of course, or Instagram? Where can people find you later?
I'm on Twitter, just at swhiteman77, which is SWIGHTMAN77 on there. That's where you can find me on Twitter. But yeah, no, thank you for having me on back on Never Foul. It's good to be back actually doing a podcast again. I've really enjoyed the last hour and a half. It's flown by as it always does on the podcast. So
thank you
for having me on.
Appreciate it, man. Souls, thank you so much for coming. Of course, the Arteta Supermaker Super Arteta. Gonna Souls on Twitter. I know you have been slow a little bit in getting videos on your channel on YouTube. That's what I'm hoping you get back. I hope you'll get back to it. Thank you for having you, my friend. And Danny as
thank you,
well.
man.
Where can people find you, Danny? Before we go to Souls, because I want to end with Souls and to tell the people that Arsenal are winning the league.
Yeah, but you guys can find me on YouTube, Dan THFC. We've currently at 834 subs, so we're on the road to 1K. Hopefully we can hit that before the season ends. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, pretty much everywhere on social media I'm on. But yeah, thanks for having me. Big up to the panel, big up to everybody in the chat. It's an honor to have you back on the channel.
Souls, tell the people that Arsenal are winning the league.
I told you before, man, you might as well engrave that league title already, innit? The Arsenal are going to be champions of England once again, people. You know why? It's for the football community, man. We're going to do it for the community. That parade is going to be so lit that even Man City will join in. That's how sick it's going to be.
Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. Make sure to hit that like button before you leave, please. We need to be on 150 likes. Just keep checking, check your burners, check your thing underneath the live chat. But thank you so much everybody for joining us. From all of us here at Never Foul. Check us tomorrow. Rivals, not Virals, tomorrow at 12 o'clock, of course, lunchtime before the Man United game, and also the call-in show at night. Make sure to check out the membership in the description. Thank you everybody for joining, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.